Of the 70 beaches scattered up and down Sydney's shoreline, the Aborigines chose to call this one Sound of Water Breaking Over Rocks, Bondi. It's less a beach than a national icon, and on any given hot summer's day, at Bondi you can find just about every Australian cliche. 175 years ago, Bondi was just a massive sand dune. In the 1850s, they were virtually giving this real estate away. But there weren't many takers. Bondi was too far from the city and way too soft to build on. That all changed when the tram line was extended to the beach in the late 1800s. All of a sudden, Sydney's working class had a new place to escape to. But there was a catch. To uphold public decency, bathing was banned during daylight hours. Still they came in droves. By 1906, the daylight ban on swimming was gone, and like lemmings, Sydney-siders swarmed into the sea by the hundreds. That same year, exactly a century ago, the Bondi Surf Lifesaving Club was formed, and one of the first people they rescued was a young boy called Charles Kingsford Smith, who later became our most celebrated aviator. The 1920s was boom time for Bondi. The inner city was becoming increasingly claustrophobic and grubby. Real estate agents and developers offered a fine quality of life and cashed in.
I used to go Sunday mornings, for instance, with my dad down and lie and surf and sunbathe and everything, and then as a treat, just as a child, be taken up to the pub behind with him for a lemonade on the veranda while he had a beer with the boys.
That first Bondi real estate bubble burst with the Great Depression. However, the unemployed and downtrodden would head to the coast for a day away from care. Our growing obsession with the beach was more than mere hedonism. Australia's identity was changing. Where once it was the wild colonial battlers and bushrangers on the land, now it was the sun-bronzed, community-minded lifesaver. And the new cultural landscape was that golden mile of sand and surf. This was a way of life worth protecting, and when war broke out with the Japanese in late 1941, Bondi Beach was fortified. The fear of invasion was that real.
They put the barbed wire in from one end to the other of the beach. They closed the beach off. They put sentries on the promenade with armed guards, and the school kids come down the second day after the wire went up, straight through the barbed wire into the water. Every kid in Bondi knew a way through the barbed wire. Someone said, I wonder if the Japs are as smart as our kids.
On the night of the 7th of June 1942, just 2 weeks after the Japanese mini-sub attack on Sydney Harbour, Bondi and surrounding suburbs came under attack. A Japanese submarine surfaced off the coast and let fire with 5 shells. Miraculously, only one man was injured, but it shocked Sydney-siders to their bootstraps. People fled the eastern suburbs en masse.
Today, Bondi's packed to bursting point.
It took a visit from the newly crowned Queen Elizabeth in 1954 to bring the shine back to Bondi's war-torn image.
Now the lifesavers are going to show the Queen and the Duke what they can do, and what the Pacific surf can do to them. Right.
Yep, Her Majesty was quite the head turner. And only a year after she left, heads were turning again. The bikini had arrived. Public decency was once more under threat.
At that time, I did think it was young girls flaunting themselves, and it did look too bare, and it did look cheap and nasty, which is the way a woman who went through the times of elegance would see that.
Beachfront councils paid middle-aged men to order young women from the beach if their swimwear was too daring. Not bad work if you could get it. Bondi Beach Inspector Orb Laidlaw took his work seriously. He even carried a measuring tape in his pocket to assist with the enforcement of council regulations. By the 60s, Bondi had become famous around the world for its laconic lifestyle and natural charm. It was the perfect setting for advertising in films, such as the Australian classic, They're a Weird Mob.
Wrong a bloody again.
Give us a hand with this, Drongo.
Put me down! I fight you on!
We'll see about that.
Put me down!
Right, dump it.
I am most undignified.
The pictures were great, but the film couldn't do the beach justice. And that was a good thing, because frankly in the 70s, Bondi stank. Undertreated sewage was spilling into the sea and returning to shore. It got so bad that one wag coined the phrase Bondi cigar, and unfortunately it stuck. Trust me, don't ask. And the sharks on the land were looking to sell Bondi out to developers. This was their Gold Coast vision for Campbell Parade in 1973. Fortunately, cool heads prevailed. The high-rises were blocked, millions were spent on a deep-water ocean sewage outfall, and it all paid off. There was another property boom. Waterfronts were recording personal bests again and again. When the Olympics came to Sydney in 2000, the beach volleyball event just had to be held on Australia's seaside showpiece. And for the past 36 years, more than 1 million people have made that sporting pilgrimage to Bondi for the world's biggest fun run. The Sun Herald, City to Surf.
They're away in the 1980s Sun City to Surf, panting, laughing, stumbling, running for the sheer joy of it.
There are only 2 people who have their names engraved on the winner's trophy 4 times. Race record holder Steve Monaghetti and Andrew Lloyd.
Now, I must ask you this question. Have you uncovered a new training method? You've just come back from a honeymoon and you've come out and blitzed this field.
Plenty of rest. A bit of training, not much hard stuff.
To start from the centre of Sydney and run to Bondi, which is one of the wonders of Sydney, you've got the Harbour Bridge, Opera House, and you've got Bondi. Where else would you want to finish the race?
Bondi is the one place in Sydney where you'll always be seen. Whether you're a pop star on a break, or you own a TV network, or you're a surfer skipping school or a backpacker on a budget, you'll rub shoulders here.